everybody, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Let's talk about some books. Today we are talking about my end of month wrap up for July. In the month of July, I read 15 books. Not bad. I think I read, 17 books in June, which was like my best reading month. So 15 books is actually not bad. It's actually better than I thought I was going to get to because of the Off Balance series, which we will talk about here in a minute. So I read 15 books this month. I have already done my mid-month wrap-up. If you missed that, I will leave it in a card for you and link down below. But we will talk about what I finished the month with, and I think that's around 6 books or so. So let's get started. First up, the Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. I'm rereading it. It is my favorite series. It will forever be my favorite series, but I'm rereading it. Especially because, Koba's birthday is July 4th, so I thought, what better way than to reread my favorite series than in the month of my ultimate book boyfriend, book man, Koba. So that's what I did, but I didn't finish. So I am moving the books that I didn't finish to my August TBR, but I did get through 3 of them. I got through Balance, Execution, and Release. It is taking me some time to read these because, first off, especially books 2 and 3, Release and Execution and Release, they're stressful, y'all. Like, they stress me out. Specifically, Rhea, she stresses me out to no end. Also, I did mention I am annotating the series. That takes some time, especially because there's a lot that I love about this series, so it's just taking some time. I read Release. It is the 3rd book of the series. This is a consecutive series, so you do need to read the first one to understand what's happening in the second one, to understand what's happening in the third one, and so forth. So I'm really not going to talk about what's happening in the third one. Just know, you're knee deep in it. You are in the toxicity that is their relationship, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Rhea's found out some shit. She's doing some dumb stuff. Koba's doing some dumb. But I love it. I love every single moment of it. I love the stress that they put me under. It's like legit anxiety. It's a 5. I mean, they've all been 5s. They will all be 5s. I love the series, y'all. If you've been around, you know I love this series. I am really excited to get to the next 2. I'm actually a little over 50% in Twist right now. They are super emotional, these 2, so I've definitely had to take a break. But in the midst of that break, I moved on to, here it is, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I finally did it. This book has been on my TBR for a damn year. I have to admit, this one was hard for me to get into. I kept putting it down. This is the first time with an Emily Henry book that I didn't get sucked in. I kept putting it down. I just couldn't get into it. And then I just had to force myself. I was like, you want to read this, just get into it. It's going to hit a point. I think a bit of it had to do with there was other things that I wanted to read, and I was forcing myself to read this one. Even though I wanted to read it, there was other things that I wanted to read at the time. Does that even make sense? Anyway, I still ended up giving this one a 4 stars because I feel like I would have felt different about it at some other time. I still enjoyed it. It was not my favorite Emily Henry book. However, I did like how our main character, our heroine, Nora, was set up at the beginning and how she was at the end, because you seemingly think that she is one way and her character starts to unravel as the story goes on. That is another thing. It is a little forgettable to me. I had to go back and look at a couple things because I forgot her name and I forgot certain things. I loved Charlie, our hero. I loved the banner between these 2. It's like a enemies to lovers. They are in the same bookish world. She is a literary agent. He is working with a literary publisher, so he's an editor. So their paths cross, and their first interaction with each other does not go very well. And Nora, it is in only her point of view, so she doesn't like him. She thinks he doesn't like her, but they do have this sort of banter. Then they end up in the same small town over the summer, and things happen from there. As in true Emily Henry fashion, everything does come full circle at the end. I love the way she wraps up her books. I did get a little choked up at the end, not tears. I did not, there were no tears, but I got the, you know, when you get choked up. It was good. I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. There ain't no spice. So these next two are possibly one of the reasons that book lovers got the pity for that it did. I'm not saying it wasn't good. It was a good book, but I don't think that I was in the right mindset to read it. So I did give it a pity for. I did. That might change, but like for today, it's getting a pity for. And that's possibly because of these next two. This series has taken over. Like not only in my head, but like in a lot of people's heads. And that is the Perfectly Imperfect series by Neva Altaj. I'm finally caught up. I waited to read book 6 this month because I knew book 7 was coming out at the end of the month, and I kind of wanted to be in that world a little bit longer, so it's just what I did. Like my brain works that way, and that's what I wanted to do. It's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. I read book 6, which is Fractured Souls, and then rolled right into book 7, Burned Dreams. They are both dual POV. They are both mafia romances. It is a mafia series. Let's start with book 6, Fractured Souls. For this entire series, it has been really hard for me to pinpoint or rank each one. Each one has something that I absolutely love. Each character I like for different reasons, and it's been really hard, but Fractured Souls quite possibly could be my favorite. This one wrecked me. This one shattered me. This one was just, it blew me away. It was so much like the other books, but it was unlike any of the other books as well. This one is very character driven and deals with very sensitive subject matter, so definitely check your trigger warnings for this one. I don't want to give too much away because this was absolutely amazing. But this one follows Asya and Pavel. I don't know, but his nickname is Pasha. So Pasha and Asya. And these two, like you feel it in all the couples, but you feel it in this one. I can't say too much about the plot, but I also don't want to. Especially if you've read any of these books before, like it still has that same formula of the unlovable mafia man and the strong heroine, and by God, Asya is absolutely strong, but the connection that these two have and the way that Pasha helps Asya work through the struggles that she needs to work through, it was beautiful to watch. And I honestly, because of the sensitive subject matter and because of just how well it was written, and I think Neva did an amazing job dealing with the sensitive subject matter. It's one of my favorites of the series as a whole. So there you go. I obviously gave this one a 5 stars. I would give it more than 5 stars if I could. I gave it a 4 stars for spice because of subject matter. And then I rolled right into Burned Dreams, which came out, I believe, on the 27th of July. This one deals with the same tropes as the other ones, except this one is also a revenge plot of bodyguard romance and forbidden love. We finally get Alessandro's story. We know him as from a previous book, and Ravina, who is the woman that he is tasked to protect as her bodyguard. However, he has an ulterior motive. He does not like Ravina's husband, and therefore, because he doesn't like Ravina's husband, he also, by association, does not like Ravina, and his plan is to exact revenge on Rocco and just tear him in what he's built to the ground, then kill off Ravina, and then kill him as revenge. But things don't go as Alessandro plans, and he ends up falling in love with the woman that he thought he hated, and the woman that he wants to kill. And this is not a spoiler, it is in the back of the book, but Rocco is very abusive to his wife Ravina, and when Alessandro figures out what is going on, and she's not the person that he originally thought that she was, he is absolutely furious, and now he wants to get revenge even more. But if you remember, as from previous books, you know that he has very particular set of skills. Name that movie. And he definitely uses them, which I was really excited for. This one, just like the others, absolutely amazing. I gave this one a 4 stars, and I gave this one a 3 stars for spice. Which brings me to my next read, which was Something Unexpected by Keelan. This one just recently came out in May. Ended up picking this one up on Audible, and I absolutely love doing this with Keelan's books. I tend to listen to a lot of them on Audible. This one happened to be read by Teddy Hamilton, so an extra perk. This one follows Nora and Bex. It is a dual POV as well. It's a bit of an enemies to lovers. Nora is actually traveling with Bex's grandmother, who really doesn't have long to live. I think it's like stage 4 liver disease. I can't remember if it's liver or kidney. She's been through treatments. She refuses treatments anymore. She just wants to live the rest of her days happy. And so she decided, they're like a very rich family, so she decides that she is going to go travel and do a lot of things on her bucket list. A lot of things that Bex is not comfortable with, because his grandmother should not be doing these things, or so he thinks. He is furious with Nora because Nora is allowing his grandmother to do this, but he also thinks that Nora is his grandmother's age. And so when he travels to the hotel that they're at to kind of put a stop to his grandmother's crazy antics, he meets this very engaging woman at the hotel bar who basically propositions him and gives him her hotel key. But when he realizes or sees that she's had a little bit too much to drink, he's having a little bit of the devil and the angel on his shoulder kind of thing, and decides not to go through with it because he doesn't want her to regret anything, and he doesn't want to have taken advantage of somebody in that state. The next morning, he goes to meet his grandmother and her travel companion and realizes the hot, sexy woman from last night's bar who propositioned him is actually Nora, his grandmother's travel companion. So as you can imagine, she is a little butthurt. I mean, I don't blame her. I probably would be too. So they have this really amazing chemistry and banter, and I absolutely love it. And she gives him all kinds of shit. There was a time or two where I was like, all right, like, you're taking it too far. You're projecting something on him that really isn't him. Like, stop. But as the book progressed, you understand why she's doing it, and it really took me by surprise. That is something with Keelan, and I don't know why it still surprises me. I've read quite a few of her books. There's always this twist at some point that just knocks me on my ass, really, and that definitely happened here. Again, I don't know why I'm surprised, but she does pull on the heartstrings at the end of her books too, and that happened here. I'm not ashamed to say I did shed a tear. This one really was a fun read. I laughed out loud. I shed a tear. It gave me quite a lot of feels. I ended up giving this one a 4 stars, and I gave it a 2 stars for spice. Which brings us to the last book I read for the month. I finally did it. It's been on my TBR for quite some time. It's been eyeing me. I did it. It's Untouchable by Sam Mariano. This is my second book by Sam Mariano, and it definitely hit different than my first book from her, which was Resisting Mr. Granville. Was not a fan. It was really good up until a point, and then it just fell down for me, and I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't like it, especially after reading this one. I will say, though, maybe it's because I read Resisting Mr. Granville, I was constantly waiting for this other shoe to drop while I was reading this one. Again, that could be because of the first book that I read, and that was like her writing style for that, or it could have just been because of what this book is about. It is a very dark romance. It is a bully romance, enemies to lovers. It is told from the point of view of our heroine, who is Zoe. It follows Zoe and Carter. They live in a very small Texas town, and I mean, it's like Varsity Blues, right? So it's a small Texas town. Football is like water. It's life, and the football players are gods. They can do no wrong. They can do no wrong. And when you have little boys who think that they can do no wrong, they do all that they can to push those boundaries, and Carter is no exception. And it starts out immediately. One of the other football players has approached Zoe and touched her inappropriately, and she's like, no, like, I don't care who you are. You ain't touching me if I don't want you to touch me. And so she reports it, and nothing is really done until she continues. I have a hair. Until she continues to badger and finally get something done. And this football player is suspended for the season, and it just happens to be his senior year too. So he is understandably pissed, but like, dude, you know, I mean, what do you expect? But also the other football players are not happy, and the town is not happy with her. So she is basically like an outcast. She comes to school, they call her names, they play tricks on her, they do really mean things. And she takes it. She absolutely takes it with her head held high. But when 3 of the football players corner her in a classroom, and that's where Carter comes in, it's definitely a bully situation. It's definitely a bit more than a bully situation. But then he won't leave her alone. He is determined to have some type of relationship with her, and she is not so warming to that fact at first. And it is obviously their relationship and how they maneuver that. Carter likes some pretty dark things, but I also really admired and really liked Zoe. I liked how strong she was throughout the entire book, even when she was being bullied by other classmates as well as with Carter. She still stood her ground with him, and I think that's why their relationship works the way that it does. But like I said at the beginning of this, I did feel I was constantly waiting for this other shoe to drop. It is an extreme bully romance. That's what it says, extreme bully. So I was waiting for more bullying, I think. I thought that there would be more, honestly. That didn't take away from the story for me. I still really, really enjoyed the story, but I thought there would be more. I really liked the progression of their relationship, and I really liked how the story was told. Even though I was waiting for more, I really enjoyed it. I absolutely liked this story. I gave it a 5 stars. I gave it a 4 stars for spice. Thanks to this one, I want to continue reading Sam Mariano. I definitely wanted to give her another shot. I was not a fan of Resisting Mr. Granville, which, like I said, was my first read by her. But Untouchable is one of Amber from Amber Reads Romance. I will leave her information down below. It's like one of her favorite books. I think I was a little scared because of my first go at Sam Mariano, but this one redeemed it, and I am looking at a few more of her books for the future. Those are the last of the books that I read for July, which brings my total up, like I said, to 15. Let's go through I still don't know what I'm going to call this. And every month I say that I need to come up with like a name for this, and then I forget until the next month comes around. But it's like my stats for the month. My favorites for July, the Off Balance series. No surprise there. We also have Anti-Hero from Sarah Kate. Super yummy. Fractured Souls by Neva Altaj, Untouchable by Sam Mariano, and The Wild by Kay Webster. My most surprising read was a toss-up between Fractured Souls and Something Unexpected, but I think I'm leaning more towards Fractured Souls because that one just, whew, y'all. Definitely go read that one if you haven't. And my biggest letdown, I think I'm going to have to go with Book Lovers on this one, just because I feel like the hype that was surrounding it, it didn't live up to that for me. It was still good. I still gave it the 4 pity stars, but it didn't hit like the other books have for me. So, but I'm glad that I've read it because now I can read Happy Place. Those are my stats for July. I want to know how many books you read for July and what your favorites were down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and we will continue to do what we do best. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.